The silent route. In the year 2038, urban centers had become labyrinths of skyscrapers connected by towering skyways. Autonomous drones zipped through the skies, delivering everything from coffee to concert tickets. Yet, for sensitive or confidential items, human couriers were still trusted their discretion unmatched by algorithms. Ezra, a seasoned courier, prided himself on his reliability. For 6 years, he had never missed a delivery. Tonight's job was simple: transport a small, sealed package to a private residence in the isolated Zone R4, an area once bustling with life but now eerily abandoned due to rampant air toxicity. The client's instructions were clear: do not open the package. Do not stop until you reach the destination. Ezra glanced at the package, sleek, matty black, with a faint red glow emanating from its seams. It was heavier than it looked. He slid it into his reinforced courier bag and mounted his e-bike, outfitted with filtration systems and reinforced tires for rough terrain. The route would take him through an old industrial corridor, a shortcut that shaved valuable minutes off the trip. As he entered Zone R4, the air thickened, a sour metallic tang seeping through his mask's filters. The buildings here were skeletal remains, their windows shattered and walls scarred by decay. His bike's GPS pinged, instructing him to take a narrow alley flanked by rusting pipes. The dim streetlights flickered as if struggling against the oppressive darkness. Halfway through the alley, Ezra's comm device buzzed. Unknown caller, the display read. Against his better judgment, he answered. A distorted voice crackled through.
Turn back.
Ezra's grip tightened on the handlebars.
Who is this?
The package you carry is not what it seems. If you value your life, leave it and go.
He terminated the call. Likely a prank. But as he pressed forward, a deep unease settled over him. Shadows seemed to shift in his periphery, their movements too fluid to be tricks of the light. Reaching a derelict warehouse, the GPS instructed him to enter. The package's red glow intensified, casting long, pulsating streaks across the damp walls. Inside, the air was colder, heavy with the scent of ozone. Rows of old machinery loomed like sleeping giants. Ezra's boots echoed as he walked toward the designated drop point, a rusted table at the center of the room. He placed the package down and stepped back. Just as he turned to leave, the warehouse doors slammed shut with a metallic screech. Lights flickered and died, plunging the space into darkness. Panic surged, but his instincts held. He activated the flashlight on his helmet, its beams slicing through the void. A low hum began to vibrate through the air, rising steadily in pitch. Ezra turned to see the package trembling violently, its red glow growing brighter and pulsing like a heartbeat. He took a step back, his breath caught in his throat as the package split open, releasing a burst of smoke and light. From the haze emerged a figure, its form shifting and flickering as though it wasn't entirely present in this reality. 2 glowing orbs where its eyes should have been fixed on Ezra.
You have delivered me,
the entity said, its voice reverberating like echoes in a vast canyon.
The time of reckoning begins.
Ezra froze, fear paralyzing his limbs. The entity reached out, tendrils of smoke extending toward him. Suddenly, his comm device buzzed again, the sharp vibration breaking his stupor. Without thinking, Ezra swiped to answer. The same distorted voice from before hissed through the line.
Run. It's not fully formed yet. You have a chance to escape.
The entity recoiled slightly, as if distracted by the voice. Ezra seized the moment, grabbing a nearby metal rod and swinging it at the tendrils. The impact sent a jolt through his arms, but the creature barely flinched. Desperate, he turned and bolted toward the nearest exit, the flashlight bouncing wildly in his hand. The warehouse seemed larger now, the shadows deeper and more alive. Every corner he turned seemed to stretch endlessly, as though the building itself was warping to keep him trapped. The entity's voice echoed behind him, growing louder.
You cannot outrun me. The debt will be paid.
Ezra burst through a side door, stumbling into the cold night air. The package was no longer in the warehouse, but the faint red glow followed him, visible even through the thick smog of Zone 4. He didn't dare stop pedaling his bike furiously down the deserted streets. The shadows seemed to move with him, flickering in and out of the dim light. When he finally reached the city outskirts, Ezra collapsed, gasping for air. His comm buzzed once more, but this time it displayed a new message. It's not over. Ezra hadn't slept in days. Since the package's delivery, his life had unraveled into a relentless nightmare. The shadows that once seemed benign now danced with malevolence, and the faint red glow, sometimes visible in reflections or the corner of his vision, haunted him. Every time he tried to rest, whispers filled his ears, a language he couldn't understand but felt in his bones. The message on his comm device replayed in his mind. It's not over. He needed answers. With his e-bike repaired and his resolve hardened, Ezra retraced his path to Zone 4. The abandoned district loomed ahead, more foreboding than ever. The air was heavier, the metallic tang now tinged with something sweeter, almost sickly. As he approached the warehouse, he noticed that the rusted doors he'd escaped through were ajar, as if inviting him back in. Inside, the space had changed. The machinery that once sat dormant now thrummed with faint energy, their surfaces glinting with veins of glowing red. At the center of the room, where he had left the package, a circular pattern was scorched into the floor, intricate and otherworldly. Ezra knelt to inspect it, his fingers brushing against the markings. They pulsed under his touch. You shouldn't have come back. Ezra spun around, his flashlight illuminating a figure, a man in a tattered coat, his face obscured by a hood. The stranger's voice was the same distorted tone that had warned him over the comm.
Who are you?
Ezra demanded, keeping his distance.
A survivor. Like you, I once carried the debt.
The man replied.
But you delivered it. You've awakened something ancient, something hungry.
Ezra's chest tightened.
What does it want?
The man gestured toward the scorched pattern.
Control. The package was a vessel, a key to bridging its realm with ours. By delivering it, you've given it the foothold it needed.
Ezra clenched his fists.
How do I stop it?
The stranger hesitated, then stepped closer.
There's a way, but it's dangerous. You'll need to sever the connection before it fully manifests. That means going deeper into its domain.
The stranger led Ezra to a hidden passage beneath the warehouse, a staircase spiraling downward into the earth. The air grew colder with each step, the walls slick with condensation that shimmered faintly red. At the bottom, they entered a cavernous space where the glow was blinding. Tendrils of energy arced across the room, converging on a massive, pulsating orb suspended in midair.
That's its core.
The stranger whispered.
Destroy it, and the connection is broken.
Ezra approached cautiously, feeling the pull of the orb in his very marrow. As he drew closer, whispers filled the chamber, louder and more coherent now. They spoke of promises, power, and submission. His legs wavered, but he forced himself forward. The orb reacted to his presence, tendrils shooting toward him like lightning. Ezra dodged, narrowly avoiding contact. The stranger yelled something unintelligible, tossing a crude device toward him, a makeshift explosive.
Place it at the base.
The stranger shouted.
Hurry.
Ezra grabbed the device and sprinted toward the orb, weaving through the writhing tendrils. The whispers turned to screams. The orb's glow intensifying. Time seemed to slow as he reached the base, slamming the explosive into a crevice and activating the timer.
Run.
The stranger bellowed. The explosion rocked the cavern, a shockwave of red and white light engulfing everything. Ezra was thrown backward, his ears ringing and vision blurred. When he came to, the cavern was silent. The orb was gone, its tendrils reduced to ash. A stranger lay nearby, motionless. Ezra crawled to his side, shaking him.
Hey, wake up.
The man stirred, coughing weakly.
You did it. But the cost.
His voice trailed off as his body began to dissolve into a fine mist, leaving behind only the faint scent of ozone. Ezra staggered to his feet, the weight of exhaustion bearing down on him. As he made his way back to the surface, he noticed the air felt lighter, the oppressive glow absent. The warehouse above ground had vanished, replaced by an empty, overgrown lot. The city skyline loomed in the distance, deceptively calm. Just as he thought it was over, his comm device buzzed. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a live feed. He stared at the screen, his heart sinking as he saw a new package, sleek, matte black with a faint red glow sitting outside his apartment door. A voice crackled through the device, cold and familiar.
The debt is eternal.
Ezra's knees buckled as the screen went dark. He realized with chilling certainty that there was no escape from this cycle. The entity wasn't gone, it was merely biding its time. And it had chosen him as its messenger, forever bound to its will.